Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Happy new week. Happy Monday. How was y'all's weekend? My weekend was good. Pretty quiet actually. And I know on Friday's episode I said I don't really work on the weekend, but guess what I did this past weekend? I did some work. I really used this weekend to catch up on some admin things in my business that I don't necessarily look forward to doing during the week. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Happy new week. Happy Monday. So that's how my weekend was. How was yours? How was your weekend? Happy Monday. Happy new week. Welcome back. Welcome back. Today, we are going to be talking all about why playing it safe is the riskiest thing you can do in your coaching business. Um, it feels good, right? Comfort feels good. Being stretched, it doesn't feel so good all the time, right? So we want to get into it. We are right at the top of the hour. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. Um, I have had some challenges with audio and visual, so let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. We are about to get into it. We are going to be talking about why playing it safe is one of the riskiest things you can do because it is, and I know that it sounds backwards, but I want you to stay with me. So, welcome back to another episode of Nick at Noon. My name is Nick Scott, and I'm the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit, an online education platform designed to help professional women turn their existing skills into sustainable online businesses without quitting their 9 to 5s. Today is Mindset Monday. Happy Monday, happy new week. And before we get into today's topic, I want to mention something real quick. So, I'm hosting a live workshop in May. It is called Her Income Lab. So, if you've been thinking about building a coaching offer and you want to do it with me in real time, the wait list is open. The link for that is in the description. So, I encourage you to get on the waiting list. For those people that sign up, not only will you get to know when registration opens first and you'll get first dibs at these limited number of seats, but you'll also get special waitlist pricing. So get on the wait list and more details to come. So for today's topic, why playing it safe is the riskiest thing you can do in your coaching business. I know. Playing it safe feels responsible and it feels like you're making good judgment. It feels like you're protecting yourself from unnecessary risk, right? And in some contexts, it is. But in the context of building a coaching business from your skills, playing it safe is not protecting you. In the context of building a coaching business from your skills, your experience, your expertise, playing it safe, y'all, it is not protecting you, it's costing you. And today, I want to get real specific about exactly what it's costing and why the decision to stay comfortable is one of the riskiest choices you can make. So, if you haven't already, I want you to go get your notebook and your pen or whatever it is you take notes on. Share this video with your biz bestie. And if you have any questions or comments as we go along, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, drop it in the chat, drop it in the comments, and I'll get to you. And y'all ready? Let's go on and get into it. So, before I make the argument, I want to talk about what playing it safe looks like in the coaching business context because I think it shows up in a few ways that might be easy to miss. So, playing it safe looks like building your business quietly so that people in your professional life don't find out about it until you're sure it's going to work. Playing it safe might look like pricing your offer low enough that you won't have to defend it if someone pushes back. Playing it safe might look like making your niche so broad that you won't exclude anyone who might potentially be a client. Playing it safe could look like waiting until you have more clarity, more confidence, more social proof before you put anything real in front of someone. Playing it safe could look like creating content consistently, but never making a direct offer because offers feel pushy and content feels comfortable. Playing it safe could look like staying in the research mode and the planning phase long after the research and planning have stopped producing anything new. Shall I go on? Shall I go on? Because here's the thing about it, all of those behaviors that I just mentioned, they all have something in common. They feel responsible. They feel like due diligence. They feel like you're being smart about how you approach this thing, but they're all producing the same result. And that result is a business that isn't growing. And here's the thing about a business that isn't growing, it doesn't stay still. So in your mind, you might think, okay, well, if it's not growing, it must be staying stagnant. And that is incorrect. Because what truly happens with a business that isn't growing, it moves backwards. It moves backwards because the cost of not building, those costs, they're real and they compound and they have a ripple effect over time in ways that most women don't even calculate until that number is significant. Until that number is significant. So I want to challenge the idea that what feels safe is actually safe because I think this is the core of the problem. When you keep your business quiet so your employer doesn't find out, you feel protected. I know I did. But what you're really doing is exactly what I did for months. And it was 6, 7 months before my layoff. I was building quietly, I was building carefully, I was within the margins, and I was essentially protecting a job that disappeared in a 15-minute Zoom call and a call that interrupted my morning treadmill workout. That job, it was never as safe as I thought it was. And the protection that I thought I was offering myself by staying quiet, it was an illusion. It wasn't real. It never was. It was something that I just made up in my mind. So when you price your offer low to avoid pushback, you probably feel like you're being realistic. But what you're really doing is setting a precedent that your work is worth less than it is, that your skills have less value than they do. And what ends up happening is you attract clients who are tire kickers or they're price sensitive rather than results oriented. And then you end up building a business model that requires more clients than you can sustainably serve to generate an income that does reflect your value. Again, that low price, it doesn't protect you, y'all. And it creates a different kind of risk. So now let's talk about this broad niche. When you keep your niche so broad, right? Like I serve all women. I serve all fill in the blank. Let's talk about this broad niche. When you keep your niche broad to avoid excluding potential clients, you feel like you're maximizing your market. Like it that's what it feels like, right? But what you're doing really is making yourself invisible to everybody because a message that speaks to everyone, it speaks to nobody. And the clients who would have paid you the most, the clients who would have referred the most, the clients who would have gotten the best results, they're the ones who needed your specificity to recognize themselves in your offer. Specific sales, y'all. The broad niche, it doesn't maximize your reach, it actually dilutes it. So, hopefully, you can see that the pattern here is consistent. Every single version of playing it safe that I just described, it creates the illusion of reduced risk. The illusion of reduced risk, all while generating a different, less visible, but often more significant risk. So you think you're over here playing it safe to protect yourself. But in reality, what you're doing is you are creating a very different, less visible, and more significant risk. So are you really protecting yourself? Somebody drop protection in the chat. So the risk of invisibility, the risk of under earning, the risk of building something that looks like a business but doesn't function like one, the risk of spending years in preparation mode while the income you're trying to generate keeps waiting on the other side of the decision that you are too afraid or that you haven't made yet. That is not safety, y'all. That's not safety. That's a slow, invisible, and very expensive form of risk. Because while you're so busy protecting yourself, what is your bank account doing? While you're so busy protecting yourself, how are you showing up for your clients? So let me get clear about what comfort is costing you. And if you're taking notes, this is where you might want to start to jot some things down. I'm going to give you 3 specific things that comfort is costing you, because I think when you see the price tag, the calculation changes, right? Everything that I've described up to this point is kind of like, okay, okay, Nick, I feel you. I understand. Yeah, the protection is an illusion. But let's talk about some numbers. Let's do some quick calculation. So off the top, the very first thing that comfort is costing you, and this is probably the most obvious, is the income you didn't earn by keeping yourself comfortable, by creating this illusion of protection. And we did this math on a recent episode of Nick at Noon a few weeks ago, but I want to bring it back because I think it really is the most clarifying version and the most practical and the most tangible version of this conversation. So I like to keep my math easy, and we're going to keep it easy again. If you've been in preparation mode for 6 months and your eventual coaching package, the one that you have in your head or in the notes app on your phone or in a Google Doc, your eventual coaching package, you're going to charge $2,000. And within those 6 months, you could have realistically signed 2 clients in that time. And that is very realistic. That $2,000 times 2 is $4,000 you didn't earn because you were waiting until you felt ready. That's the first cost of comfort, is a loss of income, a loss of revenue. Now, let's say it's been a year and that number doubles. If it's been 2 years, the number starts to become significant in a way that's hard to ignore and in a way that's hard to dismiss, right? But here's the thing. The numbers are the numbers, and I don't ever want to minimize income or revenue or the money conversation, because I dedicate a whole day every single week on Wednesday on Nick at Noon dedicated to talking about money. So I don't want to minimize the significance of the money matters, specifically when it comes to our lives. Because I say it all the time, we have bills to pay, we have tuition that we need to cover, we have car notes, we have vacations, we have, things that we want and need in our lives. And the only way to acquire those things is to have some money. So I don't want to minimize that. But here is where the income calculation misses. And it is in what I'm calling the loss of rippling. Like the income calculation, it doesn't capture what I'm calling the loss of rippling. And what do you mean by that, Nick? I'm glad that you asked. So the loss of rippling is every client that you didn't sign during that 6 months or that 12 months or that 2 years, every client you didn't sign, that client didn't refer the person that they would have referred. So you're missing referrals, right? Signed clients typically refer. What else is included in that loss of rippling? It is every testimonial you didn't collect. It didn't make the next sales conversation easier. Every result you didn't deliver during that time, it didn't become the case study that would have helped you sign the next 10 clients. So the cost of comfort, it isn't just the income of the waiting period, although the income is significant, but it is the ripple effect of everything that didn't happen as a result of staying comfortable and as a result of waiting. Somebody drop in the comments ripple effect. That compounding that happens over time. That's not captured in that calculation. So that was the first cost of comfort, and that was income. And also the ripple effect of that waiting period. So the second cost of comfort is skill development. It is the skill development that didn't happen while you're waiting, while you're being comfortable, because the fact of the matter is, just like anything else, coaching is a skill. And like every other skill, it is developed only through practice. Coaching skills don't develop through preparation. They don't develop through studying and watching and observing and researching how other coaches do it. Coaching skills are developed through coaching, through doing the thing, right? So every day, every month, every week, every year you spend getting ready to coach rather than coaching, that is a day, a week, a month, a year. You're not developing the specific capabilities that will make you excellent at this. And you can be excellent at this. You're not developing the ability to ask the question that opens something up for a client when you're waiting and when you're staying in your comfort zone. You're not developing that ability. You're not developing the ability to hear what someone isn't saying and reflect it back to them in a way that creates a breakthrough. You're not developing that ability. You're not developing the ability to hold space for someone who's in the middle of something that's really hard, without trying to fix it too quickly, without trying to save your clients. You're not developing those abilities and those skills because those skills are not developed in a planning document. They're not developed in your head. They're not developed in the notes app on your phone. They're developed in coaching sessions. And coaching sessions require clients, and clients require offers, and offers require a decision to stop waiting and start building. So that is the second cost of comfort. And that is the skill development that that's not happening. And the first cost was the cost of income. Now let's talk about this third cost. Are y'all ready for the third cost? If you're ready for the third cost, drop ready in the comments. So, the third cost of comfort is the erosion of your own confidence over time. This one is subtle and it's the one I believe gets talked about the least. And it's also the one that I like to talk about the most because it's something that people don't even really realize is happening when they're waiting and when they're being comfortable. Because every time you tell yourself you're going to do something and then you don't, every time you don't honor the promise or the commitment that you make to yourself, every single time, not just within the context of your business here, I'm talking about this is a life thing I'm talking about. Every time you tell yourself you're going to do something and then you don't do it, you make a withdrawal from your own trust account. You make a small vote against the version of yourself that can actually follow through. You're voting against her. And those withdrawals, they compound in their own way. And after enough of them, the story, the narrative that you start to tell yourself about whether you're the kind of woman who does this, who can actually do this, that narrative starts to shift. Those votes that you have against yourself, each time you break a promise to yourself, the narrative about yourself and the story you tell yourself about whether or not you're the kind of woman who can do this, that narrative and that story starts to change. And the longer you stay in comfortable preparation mode, waiting until you're ready, the more your confidence in your own ability to execute this, it starts to become conditional. That is the to me the income and the the skill development or the skill development that didn't happen, those things are important. But to me, this third cost of being comfortable, the erosion of your own confidence over time, to me, this is the biggest one. Because, like I just said, the more your confidence in your own abilities to execute, it becomes conditional. It has conditions around it. You start to tell yourself things like, I'll do it when I'm ready, or I'll do it when the conditions in my life or in at my job or whatever the condition is. I'll do it whenever that condition is better. You know what? I'll start my coaching business when I feel more clear. And each one of those conditions, it becomes a reason. Well, where I'm from, is called an excuse. It becomes a reason to keep waiting rather than a reason to start. There's always going to be a condition. It's never going to be a perfect time to start. And the antidote for this, what I'm talking about right here, the antidote is not another motivational pep talk. It's not. The antidote for this is it's a decision. And it's not just a decision, right? It's a decision that is followed by action. And I'm talking about one specific, concrete, real world action that says to yourself, I am the kind of person who does this. I am the kind of person who has a coaching business. And then that action is followed by another action and then another action after that. And the continued act of acting until your trust account is rebuilt through evidence rather than intention. We can intend to do it all day long. But if we're not making a commitment to do the thing because we're waiting, and we want to be comfortable, the only way to overcome that, the real antidote for that, the real potion, the real magic pill in that is to make a decision and then to take action and another action and another action and another action until your own trust account is rebuilt through evidence and not intention. So, those are the three things that comfort is costing you. And just to recap, it's costing you income that you didn't earn. That was the first one that I talked about. And I also talked about the loss, the ripple effect that comes along with that. The second cost are the skills, or is the skills that you didn't develop. Remember, I talked about how coaching is a skill, and the only way to develop those skills, and any skill for that matter, is to actually do the thing. And then the third thing that that comfort is costing you is, and to me the most important one, is the deterioration of your own confidence. Okay, so if you're tracking with me, I want you to give this video a thumbs up. Are y'all tracking and picking up what I'm putting down? Because in this next section, I'm really about to get into it on this Mindset Monday. So I want to make the affirmative case for commitment, because I don't just want to make the argument against safety. You know, safety feels good. It feels comfortable. It feels like we're being responsible, right? It feels like we're doing our due diligence. But I want to make the argument for what's on the other side of safety. What's on the other side of that perceived due diligence? What's on the other side of that comfort? Commitment is safer than comfort for one very specific reason. I'm going to say this again. Commitment is safer than comfort for one very specific reason, and that is commitment produces information. And information, that's what you need to start to build something real in this industry. So when you make an offer, you find out whether or not it sticks. When you name your price and you stand firm on it, you find out whether or not the market will meet you there. When you show up visibly as a coach, you find out who responds to what and what they respond to. When you have a direct sales conversation, you find out what objections come up and how to address them. And all of that information is available on the other side of commitment. None of what I just described is available on the other side of comfort. None of it. And here's the thing about the information you get from commitment. So you make the commitment and you get all this information, right? Here's the thing about it. Even when the commitment is uncomfortable, now I don't want y'all to miss this. Even when the commitment feels uncomfortable, the information that you get from the uncomfortable commitment, it is still useful. It's still useful. If somebody tells you no in a sales conversation, that tells you something. It tells you something. Being told no in a sales conversation does not feel good. It starts to feel less personal over time. But those first few times, baby, it does not feel good. But that no, as much as it stings and as uncomfortable as it is, it still tells you something. A post that you create that you might spend however long creating that doesn't stick, that post, it tells you something. An offer that doesn't convert, that also tells you something. You put all this time into creating your offer. You took the step to get it out of your head and off of a Google Doc and out into the market, and crickets. That is very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. That is an uncomfortable commitment. But even in that, the information that comes from that, it tells you something because all of that is data. And it's the data, it's the metrics, it's the information. That's what makes your next move in your business smarter than the last one. That's how you build a business, with data, with information, with analytics. So on the flip side, we talked about commitment, right? Let's talk about comfort, because comfort doesn't produce anything. It doesn't produce data, it doesn't produce learning, and it doesn't produce momentum. All comfort produces is the feeling, the sentiment, the illusion of safety, while the business you want to build, it stays exactly where it is. And as a matter of fact, like I said at the top of this episode, it doesn't just stay where it is, it actually goes backwards. So here is the reframe that I want to offer you today. I want I want you to stop asking yourself whether this feels safe. Whether whatever the thing is, whether this decision does it feel safe? And instead, I want you to start asking yourself whether this decision, this commitment that I'm about to make, does it produce information? Because a coaching business at any stage, the most valuable thing you can do is generate real feedback from the real market, not the one that you're visualizing in your head. And again, let's talk about it. There is power in visualization. There's so much research about the power of visualizing your business and yourself and your life. So I'm not minimizing it. I'm not minimizing it at all. But the only way for you to generate any real feedback and to get any information, and that is to put something real, get it out of your head, off of your Google Doc, put something real in front of real people and then see what happens. And that right there, that requires commitment, not comfort. So we're talking about commitment over comfort here. And here's the other thing that commitment produces over time that comfort never, ever can, and that is credibility. Credibility comes from commitment, it doesn't come from comfort. And when I talk about credibility, I don't mean just with your audience, although that is very, clearly. I'm building credibility with my audience when I'm making commitments, when I'm showing up, when I'm putting offers out, when I'm having sales calls, when I'm coaching, when I'm doing the thing, right? Of course, I am getting credibility from that, or my audience is getting credibility from that. But the credibility also starts to produce within yourself. And commitment produces the kind of credibility that comes from having done the hard thing, even when it's uncomfortable. Let's talk about this one too. Even when you're scared. Even when you're scared, right? I'm going to be honest with y'all. I said it before, and you'll probably hear me talk about it again on these live streams. I'm highly introverted. I would love nothing more than to sit behind my desk and my laptop and just create content all day. Never talk to anybody, never reach out to anybody. I would love to do that. As a matter of fact, every single time I get ready to do these lives, I have to breathe in and breathe out and get myself prepared every single time. It's not comfortable. It is not comfortable to get in front of lottie dottie and everybody and who knows who live Monday through Friday at noon Mountain Time. It's not comfortable. But commitment over comfort, it it produces the kind of credibility that comes from having doing this thing even if it's uncomfortable and even when you're scared. So commitment produces the kind of credibility that comes from having made the offer when you're afraid of the no. It comes from having shown up consistently even when you don't feel like it. Because here's the thing about building your business on the side, right? When you're building your business on the side, sometimes your side hustle, I really don't like that word, but I use it often because I feel like it is a word that everybody understands. When you're moonlighting on your job, it sometimes feels like the thing that you're building for yourself on the side is not the main job, because the main job is the main job, right? And so you will show up to your 9 to 5 when you're tired. People show up when they're sick, even post COVID times. People show up, um, in all types of conditions, whether they feel like it or not. But then when it comes to the thing that you're building on the side for you that can literally change the trajectory of your life and the legacy of your family, when it comes to that thing, oh, I need to be inspired. I need to feel motivated. I don't feel like it, right? And I would encourage you and challenge you to keep the same energy that you have in your 9 to 5 for your business on the side. And let's talk about what other type of credibility um, commitment produces. It produces the kind of credibility that comes from having built something real rather than just thinking about it. And it produces the kind of credibility that is available to you. It's available to you right now, but it's only on the other side of the comfortable choice that you've been making. Like, you don't get this credibility by being comfortable. You get this credibility by making a commitment. You get this type of credibility by making a commitment. Now, I want to close the quote unquote teaching part of this episode with something practical. Um, I said it on Friday. I think it was Friday. And I think I said it earlier in that week. And it's kind of funny because I'm going to stop saying it. And that is, I don't usually give action items in these because it seems like I'm starting to feel like if you're coming and you're watching and you're staying with me and you're engaging and you're showing up the same way that I'm showing up, the least I can do is provide something practical from these things, right? So I'm not going to say I don't give you action items anymore, because I do feel like after having a conversation like this, after engaging with you in this way, in a very transparent and real and raw way, the best thing, the best gift that I can give to you as a thank you for joining me and rocking with me is to give you something practical. And um, I don't want to leave you with for this conversation, I don't want to leave you with a very compelling argument that doesn't tie or connect to a specific action. So I want to ask you a question. And if you feel like you want to share, you can answer this question in the chat. But at the very least, I want you to jot it down in your notebook or your journal or whatever it is that you take notes on. And the question is, what does commitment look like for you this week? It is Monday. It is the beginning of the week. What does commitment look like for you this week when it comes to your business? And I don't mean in a general way, and I don't mean in a someday way. I mean this week, by Friday, by close of business Friday, what does commitment look like for you this week? It could look like identifying One thing that you've been playing safe on in your business and then making a different choice. What's something you've been playing it safe on in your business? Has it been have you been just playing it safe on the commitment to invest in coaching to help you get your business off the ground? How can you make a different choice about that? I'm talking about just one thing, y'all. I don't want you to think about all the things, just one thing. I don't want you to look at this as an assignment where I'm asking you to do a complete overhaul or any type of public declaration, unless you want to. I'm talking about just one decision that moves you from the comfortable choice to the committed choice. What is that thing? What does commitment look like for you this week? And maybe it's reaching out to somebody in your network and having a conversation about what they're working on and whether or not your coaching could help them. Maybe that one thing is putting a specific offer in front of one person this week with a specific price and asking for the sale. Maybe that one thing in your business, that one commitment that you're going to make is finally publishing the content that you've been sitting on because you weren't sure how it would land with your audience. Maybe it's raising your price for the next person who asks instead of defaulting to the number that feels safe. Whatever it is for you, I want you to write it down. I want you to write it down in your notebook. Writing, again, there's a lot of research about the psychology behind writing things down. And I want you to make the commitment. I want you to make the commitment and I want you to take the action. Just one action. And I want you to do it this week. I want you to do it this week. And the thing about it is I know that whatever the action is, it is not going to be comfortable. And that's not the reason that I want you to take the action. I want you to take the action because it produces information. And information, that is the thing that's going to move the needle in your business. It's going to move the needle. It's going to move your business forward. Okay. So before I close, I want to come back to something that I mentioned at the top of this conversation. And that is in May, I am hosting Her Income Lab, a live workshop where we will build your coaching offer together in real time. So this is not a recorded course. It is not a notebook that you will complete alone. This is Her Income Lab is a live hands-on session where you will walk away with a complete packaged and priced offer that you can take into your conversations immediately after we finish that session. And I'm bringing this up today specifically because today's episode is all about commitment over comfort. And getting on the wait list for Her Income Lab is a small act of commitment. It's saying that you're serious about your business and that you're giving it the same energy that you give your 9 to 5. It's saying that you want to be in the room where this is happening. You're not making a purchase commitment and it's not a guarantee, but it is a signal to yourself that you're moving toward the committed choice rather than staying in the comfortable run, right? So, again, the link for the workshop is in the description if you are watching on YouTube, or you can go to my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. And I want you to get on the wait list because registration, it does open in May. And the women who are on the list, they get first dibs. They get first dibs at the seats. They get first dibs at all the things. I have some goodies in store for the women that sign up on this waiting list. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Playing it safe is one of the riskiest things you can do in your business. And it isn't because risk is good for its own sake, but because the risks of comfort are real and they compound and they have a ripple effect and they're almost invisible until the cost is significant. Like it's nothing until it's something. And the risks of commitment, the no's that you're going to get, you will hear no, the imperfect launches that you have, because there will be imperfect launches, the content that doesn't stick, because you will publish content that doesn't stick, all of those risks are temporary. And all of them produce information, and information produces growth. So I want you to choose the risk that moves you forward. I want you to choose the risk that moves you forward. Hello, 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 enrichment facilitator services. Zero in on my target market for Q2. I love that action. I love that action on your target clients. I love that action. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share what is the one action, the one commitment that they're going to make this week? What is the one commitment? We did talk a little bit about target audience, target client in this discussion. And earlier I said we didn't go too deep into it, but what I did say is when you lean into a broad niche, or when you choose a broad niche thinking that you're widening your scope and your net to attract more clients, it really does the opposite for you. Like that is an illusion. We talked a lot about illusions today. So thank you for dropping that in the chat. So I want you to come back tomorrow for Strategy Tuesday, because I'm going to be talking about how to find your first coaching clients without social media. And that is a big conversation now, right? A lot of coaches and consultants and course creators and folks who sell digital products, they're, I'm calling it like an anti-social media movement. They are so much, they're leaving Instagram in droves, right? And here's the thing about it is, here's the thing about it. People had businesses, thriving, successful businesses before the internet and before social media. So, tomorrow's conversation, I'm going to be getting into the real nitty gritty about what it takes to find your first coaching client without using social media. So, I am here Monday through Friday at noon, Nick at noon, Mountain Standard Time. So, set your reminder. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn your notifications on so you do not miss a beat. I will be here tomorrow for Strategy Tuesday at noon Mountain Time. The workshop waitlist link is in the description, or you can go to my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. And thank you so much for hopping in on today's episode. Thank you, Enrichment Facilitator Services, for dropping and engaging. Your presence is always felt. I appreciate you. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.